one of the main topics that like everybody was talking about, Tank Davis, Lamont Roach,
Right.
Tank took a knee, he went to his corner, got his eye white. So like, what's your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, Steve Willis, who was the referee at the time, Steve's been a friend of mine for years. I've known Steve. I remember when he was coming up in the Golden Gloves, and in the amateurs, and he's a good official. He's a good official, and actually, I think he does training. He trains pro officials.
Okay.
And so what had happened, I mean, like I said, there's no perfect bout, whatever. Right. And what happened with Steve was, I think he was thinking, number one, probably the safety of the boxer.
Right.
First of all, he started giving, when Tank took the knee, Steve automatically sent the other opponent to the neutral corner.
Right.
And he started giving an 8 count. And right. I think he got to like 2. And he saw what Tank was just getting his face wiped off. And he knew that it probably wasn't a punch that had caused it. So he stopped his 8 count until he found out what was happening. Mm-hmm. And I think he said something to him like, hey, that could have been a knockdown, or I started to call it a knockdown. I didn't know what you were doing, or something like that.
Right.
And then told him, to box. If he had to do over again, I'm pretty sure he would probably had kept the 8 count, because, well, in amateur boxing, if anything but the soles of your feet hit the canvas, you automatically start counting.
Right.
The timer starts counting.
Right.
It's up to the referee to pick that count up. In pro boxing, it used to be kind of an unwritten rule that if a boxer could go down if something was wrong, like something like equipment or something, he could take a quick knee and it would stop. But that's kind of an unwritten rule. That's not a rule. That's not something that you normally they've done that in amateur before, and I've just counted.
Right.
Give them a standing 8 count. Until and they say, hey, well, my headgear was loose or something like that. And I said, well, that's fine. Well, you okay?
Right.
In amateur boxing, the 8 count is a safety tool for the referee to use to evaluate. It doesn't count anything against the person that gets the 8 count. Maybe one hard blow could give them an 8 count. But I think what Steve did, which wasn't exactly right, but it wasn't really wrong either. If you understand, it could have gone any way. It was a judgment call. And a lot of times a referee has to make a judgment call with just in a second. And, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But you have to make that judgment call. I don't think that it would have been much of a issue if it hadn't been so close. I'm sure it wouldn't have been a big issue if that bout had not been really close.